recording now. Hi, everybody. This is Ebere Okoye, and we are going to be going after, we're going to be discussing several things today. I did have my notes. Okay, let me pull the notes. So let me go through some important things that I did not have recorded before, which is if you have employees, meaning that they're on payroll and they get a W-2, and you think you had a reduction of revenue or that your business operations were impacted at least 10% during the government shutdown. So 2020 and 2021, there's an employee retention tax credit that's available for employers. So if you meet that criteria, you can reach out to us and then we'll send you a list of the items that you need to get for us to be able to see if you qualify for that credit. The next thing is, I'm sure you guys have been hearing about the Inflation Reduction Act and all the things that are coming in order to kind of like help to stay the inflation. I'm not necessarily getting involved on whether it's going to do what it says it's going to do. But bottom line, it doesn't affect a lot of people, like a lot of my clients. I'll say at least 90% of our clients or 95%, because most of the tax changes is really for people who are over $1 billion in income. So there's not a lot of tax impact yet. Things could change between now and when it's actually signed. But for right now, that's not something that anybody should worry about. Does anybody have any questions on those two items before we move on?
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is a deal that we're currently pursuing. This deal is a joint venture deal between the Fourth Man Investments LLC and Lynn Nehemiah's LLN LLC. What we're looking to do is to raise about $200,000 in cash in exchange for a 40% ownership in a 4-bedroom rental property in DC. So the house is currently valued at about $650 and could go up to $725, if not more, after we do some updates and repairs. So Lynn is, currently a wealth building plan client and is just looking for some cash, quick cash immediately by the end of August. And so has this opportunity available. We're looking for a minimum of about 30 grand. This property is located on Tewksbury Road. So I'm just going to show you guys some pictures. So these are some pictures of the property in DC. Nice little apartment. These are before pictures because that was a question that somebody had asked us before, that it looks like the property is empty. It's not. It currently has a tenant in there. Lynn, how much are they paying every month now? How much is their monthly rent?
It's $4,044 a month.
Okay.
So it is Section 8 tenant, and so she's responsible for about $820, and then DC pays $3,033 in that range monthly.
Okay. All right, still going through the pictures. How long has the tenant been in this property?
She's been there about a year now.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's 2 years.
Okay.
So the other property, so that picture going back, Ebere, I don't know if people noticed, but that property next door has been transformed from the original photo that you showed. So the property next door was vacant initially and has been upgraded and is now on the market for $875.
Yeah, so these are some comps. This one here is 3-bedroom, 4-bath. The one that you have, the 810, is how many bedrooms and how many baths?
It's actually 4-bedroom and 2 full bath.
So 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. And then this next one, oh, it looks like she didn't have the picture. This next one, 3-bedroom, 2-bath is 730. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 699. So they're all within that range. Of course, with everything going on in the market, we're gonna see whether or not it's, those properties will sell. These are some questions that people had sent in, and I thought about putting it all together, just in case anybody had more questions. So this property is not for sale. It's gonna be where we are getting an interest transferred to us, 40% interest. We're currently talking with attorneys on the best way for us to take this interest, whether it would be adding the TFM investment onto the deal, or whether we have a lien recorded. We're going to have the attorneys involved, because we do want to make sure that our investment is secured by some type of collateral or ownership in the property. It's definitely going to be a buy and hold and eventually flip in a couple of years. The property is rented. In order to bring it to that ARV of 725, we're looking to upgrade the kitchen and create a master bedroom suite with a bath. There's the utilities and maintenance and repairs. I will be working on the tax return soon, so I'm also going to get a chance to see what the net cash flow has been up at the property. We're looking to make biannual distributions, and then expected return is going to be 10% or more. Okay, so that's about it on the property. Just wanted to give very quick information before we actually went into our study for the day. Does anybody have any questions before we move on?
So I would just add, Ebere, that the current mortgage balance is about 300,000. And so with the investment of 200, that would, so we'd have I guess a lien of a total of 500,000, because you had mentioned that the current ARV is 650. So I wanted to distinguish between the 650 and
The loan value.
yeah.
So it's almost like we're getting into this property with some equity in it, and
Right.
being able to get that in exchange for cash. So any questions from anyone before we move on?
I have a question, but I don't know if it's something I need to know. I just wanted to know how many investors are going to be part of this. Do you have like a certain number, or?
Well, if we said minimum of 30,000, 200,000, that means 7, but most people have indicated that they could do 50. It's first come, first serve. After this meeting, we're going to send out and let everybody know that responded. Most people responded. I think we're at about 300 or 400,000, but we don't need that much. So it's really going to be first come, first serve. So if it's $50,000, then that's 5 people, we're done. We were also going to decide, Lynn and I were going to decide, do we want a little bit more? Like, let's say we had more money. Do we want to take a little bit more for an exchange for more ownership to be able to, do the repairs or the improvements and not have to put pressure on the line of credit? So those are the things that we're, currently looking at. But so far we have at least 6 people who indicated they have at least 50,000 to invest. So, yeah. Lynn, the other Lynn.
Yes, thank you. So my question was, for the investment, would they be getting like part of the cash flows, or just you're in there, so when you eventually flip it, that's when you get your money back? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, so it's going to be both, but the way we're splitting it is there's going to be the cash on cash return, which is biannual. Then there's going to be the principal reduction, and then there's going to be the appreciation. So a good chunk, I'm thinking at least 80% or 90% of the ROI is going to be at the time of the sale, not necessarily with the yearly cash flow. I've not been able to figure out exactly how much that yearly cash flow is because I haven't worked on the 2021 return. Once
Mhm.
I work on the 2021 return, I'll have a better idea of what the expected cash flow is gonna be. And then we can build it out to say, okay, this amount of money is the cash on cash, this
Mhm.
amount of money is the principal reduction, and this amount of money is gonna be the appreciation.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
All right, anybody else? Okay. So today, let me make sure. Okay, so I think I covered the three main things. The main thing that we wanted to talk about today is the business system. As I'm talking to a lot of you, we're realizing that our businesses are doing well, right? So now we're at the point where we want to make sure that we can sell our businesses. What we found out is that 80% of the people out there are not able to sell their business simply because it was not structured as a business system. Now, a lot of us are real estate investors, so the asset that we have is real estate, right? But if you think about it, you can turn around and sell the real estate. But what about all the goodwill and technical know-how that you've acquired over the years? Like how to successfully set up the business and be able to run it. So it's one thing to say, hey, I'm able to just sell the rental property. And if I sell the rental property, that's all that I have in the business. But it's another thing to be able to sell the rental property plus your business system on what it is to really be a landlord. So that instead of selling, I'm just giving an example, Ebere LLC, instead of selling this ABC property that I own in Ebere LLC, and then Ebere LLC becomes a shell, I might be able to sell ABC property for $300,000, but I could get a little $100,000 additional because I'm not selling ABC property. I'm selling Ebere LLC, and the Ebere LLC has both the rental property plus my business systems on the way that I've been doing things over the past however many years I've been in business, so that the buyer is also buying into a business system that works. So this is kind of like wanting to start changing our mentality that we should stop seeing ourselves as self-employed, which is the day that you sell your rental property, the business goes, but look at it that you do have a valuable asset, goodwill, and tangible asset that can be sold to people. Because sometimes, you know, what they say, 95% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. It's not because they didn't have any money, it's not because they didn't have any asset, but not knowing how to run these systems properly would impact the business. So there's 5 aspects that we look at, which is sales and marketing, operations, leadership, team, and financial. Those are the 5 areas that we want to build a system. My goal today is really just to whet your appetite. I'm not going to be able to cover everything in detail, but just to whet your appetite in terms of, hey, these are things that you need to be aware of as you are building your real estate business, to also know that you can also systematize the business and be able to sell that aspect of the business. So let's see. Okay. So sales and marketing. So we're gonna, you know, I want this to be, I want you to participate, because I think when you guys participate, you're able to get a lot of information out from our discussion. So if you guys don't participate, I will call on you. So let me have a volunteer. How do you currently market? How do you currently handle marketing in your business? How do you, and then first of all, what are the different things that we need to market? The first thing is, how do we market our properties, right? Then how do we find, you know, the properties? And then how do we market for tenants? What else is critical for those of us that are in the real estate business? How do we find tenants? How do we find properties? How do we sell our properties? And then how do we develop relationships with those who have properties that they have to sell, and then we hear about it. So anybody can go, you can answer any one of these questions. That would be the marketing aspect of your business. And right now we're discussing lead generation, which is how to generate leads for your business.
Hey, so I'll just go so you won't have to pick me. But I guess I really don't have what I'm calling a sophisticated marketing plan. I mean, for the most part, my strategy is direct to seller, and then you know, do some wholesales that way, and then use that wholesale money to get some buy and holds. That's kind of what I've been doing for the last kind of year and a half. And in terms of marketing, all, you know, I'm basically doing what most, you know, rookie do. You get lists and you call, and, you know, then once you get something under contract, I actually leverage the network that I have within my RIA, and then a mentorship that I'm in to sell or even buy properties. So I don't have anything where I'm using some kind of, you know, program or going out, you know, with SEO and all that. I mean, I'm really just doing grassroots, you know, word of mouth, and just using my network to be able to buy and sell. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say you're doing direct to seller, how are you getting to those sellers?
So using software like PropStream, and then I go and niche my criteria, and then pull lists, and then skip trace them, and, you know, call. Well, I had a assistant that was actually doing some cold calling, and then I follow up and do if there's a warm or hot lead, I follow up and do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, does anybody else have another way that they market apart from what Lynn mentioned? Okay, well, oh, Joe, were you trying to say something?
I'm more of the buy and hold model. So in terms of getting leads, it's primarily developing relationships with deal finders. You know, whether it be real estate agents, wholesalers, word of mouth, my tenants, and things like that. It's nurturing those relationships such that they understand what my criteria is, what I'm looking for, and therefore try to incentivize them, if possible, to bring me the lead when they get them, because obviously we're all chasing the same thing. We all want a good deal. Everybody wants one, and the question becomes: I forgot the other lady. Was it the one that just spoke to before me?
Lynn.
Lynn.
So let's just say Lynn, through her campaign, comes across a good deal. Then Joanna wants it. The other Lynn wants it. I want it. Ebere wants it. So we all want that deal. The question becomes, why should Lynn give it to Joe versus Joanne and things like that? So from my perspective, I've had to come up with you know, reasons for why Lynn should want to do business with me versus with Joanna and things like that. So it's developing those relationships, and you know, making sure that people like Lynn understand what my criteria are, and checking in with her every now and then. I do have a JV program and a coaching program and things like that. So therefore, the idea is that if she was to bring me the deal, then she'll get access to all of that stuff. So hopefully that will differentiate me from Joanna and Ebere and who all want the same deal. And so I think what I've learned is that we have to have some differential advantage when we're getting the leads and deals and things like that. Otherwise, it's just who's going to pay me the most money, and that's the only criteria.
All right, so let me ask you guys a question. Just let me know what the last deal that you did, how did you get it? Everybody can just throw out. From me, mine came from a realtor. The very last deal that you did, how did you get that deal?
Mine came from a realtor as well.
Okay, so 2 realtors. Wholesaler,
Real estate agent as well.
so realtor. So we have 3 realtors and 1 wholesaler. Mine was wholesaler. Okay, so 2 wholesalers. Okay, so the question, remember that what we're trying to do here is to develop a system, right? I just wanted us to have the discussion so that we can see what marketing is all about. So if I were to ask you guys, if anything were to happen to you today, do you have somewhere documented on your sales and marketing where somebody else can pick up that manual or SOP and know, how do I get access to the same wholesalers that Lynn had, that Regina had? How do I get access to the same realtors that Lynn had, that Ebere had, that Joseph had? Those relationships that you've developed over the years to be able to bring you these leads, because it looks like all of us got it through somebody else. We didn't necessarily get it on the courthouse steps, or we didn't get it on our own directly with the buyer. There's a middleman that is involved. So all these 5 middlemen, how would somebody else, if you're not available today, how would somebody else have access to that same middleman? And how do you have it documented?
Nothing documented.
Yeah, so
Nothing.
that's exactly. So you may not be thinking that that's an asset that you have, right? But look at all of us on this line had a middleman relationship. That's how we got our last deals. So if you just say, hey, I'm just going to sell that property that you own, that's great. But wouldn't it be better that you're selling them the property and you're also selling them this list that they would be able to now use to get subsequent properties later on down the road? So this is where you now come back and you now have to lay out in your business system how you do your lead generation. You literally have to write it down to say, hey, for my lead generation, here for my lead generation, I usually have my relationship with realtors. Are you emailing the realtors, or are you already in the realtor database that they would contact you if anything happens? Are you on a wholesaler's list? How is it that the wholesaler contacted you? Those things you want to document, because while you may sell a property to somebody else, being able to sell them this marketing piece of your business could easily generate them a lot of money down the road, and they're willing to pay for it. It's an asset that you have that you've developed over the years. So why let it go to waste just because you want to get out of the industry and you want to just sell your rental properties? But you have a marketing funnel that works. And so being able to monetize that and document how that happens. So before we move on, and whatever I cover now, it's going to be the same throughout all of these 5 models that we're looking at, like which system you want to build first, what you're going to build next. All of them pretty much is going to follow the same format, right? So let me ask you right now, if I were to ask you, hey, I need you to develop your sales and marketing system so that you can even turn around and go sell that system to somebody else. Can you tell me 3 things that you're going to do right now? If I were to ask you to develop that system, what are 3 things that you need to do?
Start documenting.
Yeah, but give me specific, how do you document? What is it that exactly you're going to do? If I say, Lynn, I need you to submit your sales and marketing system to me. What is it that you're documenting?
So for me right now, what I tend to do is I actually like auctions.
Mhm.
And so I would, and I look through various auction sites, and I'm really also trying to develop relationships with contractors,
Mhm.
so that maybe we can partner together if I'm going to do a flip, let's say. So I would you know, I guess, list the different auction houses that I would go to, and also the contractors that I'm working with, you know, that I partner with to help with the renovations. So that's two, you know, two things that I could do. that I
Yeah, so
can-
you list the auction sites and where the auction, you know, the website for the auctions. Then you list out the contractors you're working with, the contact information. What about the realtor that sold you the property? Do you have a relationship with realtors? Like, how do you develop your relationship with your realtors? If somebody were to go work with a realtor, what is it that they need to do from your list?
You know, I guess I just have a couple of realtors that I've worked with, and I kind of go back to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you saying that it's when you're ready to buy your property is now when you would approach them and say, you let all of them know, hey, I'm looking to buy a property. Please let me know what is out there. So again, you would provide the list of your realtors. So right now, do you see that in everything that you mentioned, you have lists that are very, that are cash cows, but you have not documented it because you're not thinking about it. But
Right.
that list is very valuable. Right?
Yes. Mhm.
So the next thing that we're going to look at, so whether it comes to the lead generation, whether it comes to the lead conversion, when you come to the lead conversion, guess what? You're going to have a title company involved. You're going to have an attorney involved. You're going to have a general contractor involved. You're going to have all these people. So even documenting the list of what I call them industry partners. These are all the people that I work with when it's time for me to now convert this lead, this property lead, into a property that I'm going to own, rehab, and sell. Who are all the people that I'm working with in order to do that? Have that documented with emails and phone numbers. Because it very well could be that you do the lead generation and you're not able to continue with the conversion. Somebody can easily pick up this business system of yours and continue it on. Okay. So now let's look at operations. The next item would be operations. Operations is really what you look at in terms of the day-to-day. What is it that you do day-to-day in order to run your business? So can everybody tell me what were the 2 or 3 things you did this morning when you started work? For those of you that went from your house and took the metro to the basement, that's okay. For those of you that walked to your office space, that's fine. For those of you that drove, but what are the first 3 things that you did today when you were ready to work?
I turned on my computer and looked at emails that I didn't get to from yesterday.
So the first thing, your opening procedure was that you checked your email,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So checking email. What else is part of your referral? Oh, sorry, what else is part of your opening procedure? I call this my opening procedure, what I must do in the morning. So checking emails. What else?
Maybe doing some follow-up calls.
Okay, some phone calls. Anybody else, apart from checking emails and follow-up calls, what else did you do for the day? For me, I check my appointments because I usually have appointments with you guys from 10 to 2. So when I get in, I know that my appointments start at 10. I don't necessarily check my appointment calendar till like 9:50. So I use between 9 to 9:50 to check my emails. And I also check in with staff so they know that I'm here. But then I also look at my calendar to look at what appointments that I have for the day. All right. Is there anything else that you do that is not part of what I mentioned?
Plan of the day.
Planning the day, okay.
Otherwise, you'll be chasing fires all the time and getting nothing done.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a little bit. When you say planning the day, give me an example of what you mean, because it could be because of the business that you're in, right? Your business may not be what do you call it? A scheduled day, I pretty much have my day already planned for me. I know that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 10 to 2, I'm on lockdown because that's client appointment. 9 to 10, I'm checking the email. So in terms of what I do with the rest of my day, that cannot start till after 3 p.m. But in Joe's case, where you're primarily a buy and hold investor, unless tenants are reaching out or contractors are reaching out, when you get up in the morning, you don't have a set of things that you need to do. So how do you decide on, first of all, where are you looking at to decide on how to plan your day? What are the different things you're looking at to figure out, I need to plan my day?
Well, I mean, so typically, what I do anyway is, at the weekend, I try to identify some of the several things which I want to accomplish this coming week. So a high level, and then on each day, I kind of look at that and say, okay, I need to at least start this, or I need to do this, and so on. So, because I've tried the way whereby you just work, and at the end of the
You
day,
just react,
just react, right?
fires as they
Yeah,
come.
I mean, you do a lot of work, but you don't really accomplish anything. And so at least I try to. It's not always the case. I always try to, at least each day, identify some of the key things I need to do for that day before the rush starts. So I usually do that the first thing in the morning after the workout and things like that. Before I get down to the day, I at least have an idea of some of the key things, either a meeting I've got to attend to, a document I've got to complete, calls I have to make, something to grow the business. At least I have an idea what it is I like to do that day, and then I'll prioritize them. Again, this is in theory. It's not always happening in practice, as we all know. And then we try to take the important stuff, try and do those. And as you do it, you kind of, at least what I do, I just mark it as done. And so that's the way I do it. I like to at least have an idea what I want to accomplish that day before I start the day.
Good. So now just use it. Does anybody else have an example of what you do apart from what I shared, where I already have my day scheduled out till 3 p.m.? Joe does his like over the weekend. Does anybody else have anything that you look at in terms of what you do for the day? Your to-do lists? Okay, so now let's look at this. Do you think that the reason why all of us on here are successful is because we do follow a to-do list, whether it's a scheduled to-do list or one that we come up at the beginning of the day? Do you think that somebody that is a new business owner may not realize that, hey, this is the importance of having your operations documented? And that is why I tell them, hey, you have to have your to-do list, opening procedure. What are your daily tasks? What are your weekly tasks? What are your monthly tasks? What are your quarterly tasks? What are your biannual tasks? And what are your yearly tasks? Because if you don't have that, it's possible that you can have a very good funnel of marketing. You can have good leads. You can have a good team to help you convert. But because you don't know what to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, your business ends up going. There's some people that we stop doing business with. Why? Because they don't return their phone calls, or we send them emails, they're not responding to their emails, or we scheduled an appointment and they didn't keep the appointment, or you're supposed to make a payment, you don't make a payment because you don't have things. So having a to-do list helps you build your business. Now, if somebody sees that, hey, Joanna follows this to-do list and this is what has helped her build her business, you are now able to sell that, because now they're stepping in and they're knowing that, hey, if I'm stepping into this person's position, I need to have office hours, I need to have a to-do list, I need to plan my day. There's value in that amount of that way that you've scheduled out, so they know how to use their time. We all have the same 24 hours a day. Why some set of people getting success and not others? It's about what we're doing with those hours during the day. Does anybody have any questions about the sales and marketing, sales, marketing, or operations before we move on? Again, like I said, this is just a teaser for you to know. So next thing we're going to talk about is financials. We're talking about how do you keep your accounts. We're talking about how do you collect money. We're talking about how do you make payments? How do you budget? What are the financial controls that you have? What is the cash flow management? So again, I like to deal with very specific things that would help us out. So let me ask you today, did anybody deal with accounts receivable today or accounts payable or did some kind of budgeting or financial control? Lynn scratching her head like, no, or cash flow management or accounting and reporting. Maybe you can share what you did today in the financial area.
I mean, this is kind of minor, but one of my tenants paid part of her rent today. So I had to transfer the funds from Venmo into the business account.
So you did both you did accounts receivable, financial controls, and cash flow management, right? So can we identify these three areas where Lynn practiced these today? Where did she do accounts receivable? What did she do in her accounts receivable?
Collected rent.
She collected rent. Partial rent is better than no rent. I'll take whatever you got. Is $1, give it to me. I'll take it. There's a principle that you're passing across to somebody else on why it's important to collect partial rent rather than no rent at all. She did financial control. What did she do in the area of financial control?
She moved it from Venmo to her business bank account.
Exactly. Why is that a financial control?
Keep your business expenses revenues and expenses separate, right, from your personal.
Okay, that's important, but there's another critical aspect. How is it financial control to move your money from Venmo to your business bank account?
Allows you to track. If you know what's in your bank account, then you can plan accordingly or you can act accordingly. If it's in Venmo, there's only so much you can do in Venmo, but you can do a lot more if it's in your bank account.
Okay, you guys are saying it, but there's a critical aspect that we're missing, which is FDIC insured.
Ah. Thank.
And which one has the more potential for fraud? It's a lot easier to steal from Venmo, Cash App, all those places than it is from your bank account. It doesn't mean that somebody can't take your debit card or whatever. So the financial control is moving that money out of a place that is not safe to a place that is safer. You know, a new business person may not know that. So them seeing that on your SOP, accounts receivable, you got to collect rents. Budgeting, you got to collect this. Financial controls, you got to collect this. And let me tell you what we did today. I did all of them today. I don't play with my money. First of all, when I look at my appointments, I look at my appointments based on how much money I can collect. That's why I usually reserve 10 to 2 for appointments with my wealth building plan clients and those who are willing to pay me. Because if I don't make out time to generate income, well, we're not going to have any money to do payroll. You know, so that's a priority for me. Then for my tenant, making sure that, there was a tenant that came in yesterday. She had COVID, so she wasn't able to pay her rent earlier. But I was watching out, making sure, hey, did you collect your rent? And now we're trying to deposit the check. We couldn't deposit the check. We had to physically go to the bank and deposit it. And I told her, look, this is not part of my property management. If you're not able to pay by credit card going forward or debit card, I'm going to have to start charging you for that service to go into the bank. But I made sure that once I had the check, I literally had to go and deposit it in the bank account. That's a financial control because I can lose the check. But once it's in the bank, that money is now there for me to do cash flow management. Today, we looked at our budget. Usually our summer months are our slowest months. So that's when usually we don't have as much revenue as we do during tax season. So we're looking at how much balance do we have in the bank account? We did that today. And then we divided across the different departments. Do we want to generate new revenue? Do we want to go after people to pay their WBP fee? Hello, if you're on the line, you're and you and pay me, you got to see me. Or if or do we have people that we're done preparing their taxes? They're not in the wealth building plan, but they need to pay their tax prep fee. So we have these 4 areas, and I already looked at those today because we have a target that we need to meet by next week. If I'm not meeting that daily target, now I don't do that every time. We just do it in the slower months when we don't have that income. So having that kind of control, the financial piece, helps you to stay in business. Then the cash flow management. How did Lynn do cash flow management today? So remember, she collected the money, she transferred it into the bank account. How does it now help her with cash flow management? Okay, so with the money now being in the bank account, she is now able to pay some bills, right? She's able to pay her bills from there. She's able to know if she needs to transfer some to savings, or if there's a repair expense that she needs to take care of, if there's a property that she needs to purchase, she's able to do all that from there. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the financial piece before we move on? Okay. So the next one that we're going to look at is our team. The hiring, the onboarding, the training, the compliance, the outsourcing, the exit process, all this on how to bring on your team. So my question, did anybody do anything in terms of a team today, and what did you do? Bringing on new team members.
Are you speaking of team members that are on payroll, or?
It could be payroll, or you're paying them as an independent contractor. These are all the people that you have to pay to help you manage your business.
Okay, so I just now had to take a phone call from a woman that I had hired to clean a property that I just purchased in Florida.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so I had to hire her, and she just reported back.
And what did you do? I mean, what did you specifically do today with her?
I spoke to her about what needed to be, what needed to take place at the property, and just confirmed that, the work was done.
So she's already done the work, and you were just finishing up the work you were just reviewing the work.
Yes, she just went there today too.
Okay.
So I had to tell her what to do and how to get in, and what needed to be done, and then review what was done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. I mean, every Tuesday I meet with my assistant. She helps me manage the properties. So that allows us to go through, the rents, the maintenance, the, customer service issues, all that stuff associated with managing the portfolio. So you have to set aside time, I think, to meet with your key employees or key team members, to make sure that everyone's swimming in the same direction, and you can address issues as and when they arise, or on a regular basis before they get totally out of control.
Okay. So let me ask, and then I also, today I met with one of my staff members where I needed to assign them a new task, but we needed to work out our schedules because she's usually working 10 to 2. I'm like, during 10 to 2, I have an appointment. So if you want to work with me on this new task, you may have to change your schedule a little bit. So Ebere, let me read out what Regina wrote. She's looking for a realtor for another area that she's interested in. She'll have to follow up with some of the realtors. So let me ask you guys a question. So for Lynn, Ebere, Joseph, and Regina, How did you find the person you're working with today? How did you find the lady to clean? How did you find your personal assistant? How did I find this intern? How did Regina, where are you looking for realtors?
I actually went to Yelp since it, since it was an area that I'm not familiar with and I don't know a lot of people there. I wanted to, look at reviews and things like that. And I knew that the work that was done was somewhat minimal. So I also was looking at cost. And so I took advantage of a first time special to be able to lock in, a good rate.
So going to Yelp. And then for me, I actually went to the universities. I found out that I'm able to get very good interns from surrounding universities. So this intern came from the University of Maryland. That was how I got them. And Regina looked on Bigger Pockets. And then Joe, how did you find your personal assistant?
That was networking, really. Through relationships, somebody suggested somebody who would be, a good person, and then we kind of met that way, just through networking.
Awesome. So now there's 4 different ways that we build our team, right? We build our team from Yelp, built our team from Bigger Pockets, built our team from the university interns, and then from networking. Now, let me ask you guys, do you have this documented? If somebody were to step into your shoes, do they know what to do in order to find your team? Yeah, because all of it is where in your head, right? And I tell people that our brain is not for storage, it's for thinking. So now it needs to be documented on their team, who the different team members are and where to go find them. A new business owner may not know that, hey, looking at Yelp, and taking advantage of specials could help. They may not know that, hey, Bigger Pockets is like one of the, the largest social media platform for real estate investors. May not know that, hey, you don't just network for properties, you can also network for your team. Or that, hey, there's people in universities, some that want to become an accountant, some that want to get into real estate, and so are willing to come and intern. Having that documented so that people know this is where you need to go find them. And then when you do find them, having the weekly meetings, like he said, doing the review of the work. I always do reviews, trust but verify the work, knowing what to look for. Regina is still looking, knowing what to look for in the realtor. And then that will be helpful so that somebody else stepping in knows that, oh, these are the things that need to be done under the team. Okay. Okay, Regina said she started putting together a list of current team members. This originally was so that my family would know who to talk to if for some reason, exactly, it's for that same reason. But guess what? After you put it together, you can sell it, because there's some people who this business that we're doing, it's a mystery to them. But if you're able to sell them a SOP document and the properties that you have, like here, I'm giving you this property, but for an extra $10,000, $20,000, $100,000. I don't know if you guys know, but to value your business, you value it based on multiple. Your business is 1 times or 1.5 times, 1.2 times, sometimes 2 times the revenue that is in there. So it's not just based off of the value of the asset, but it's also the overall value of the system that you've created. So you're able to sell that. Okay. So that's how you build your team. Any questions on team before we look at the last one? All right, so the last one is more of strategic planning, where you look at overall, where are you really headed? Is your, is your game plan really working? How do you develop yourself as a leader for continuity? What kind of culture? How do you communicate company-wide with people? So one best way that I describe leadership is working on your business rather than in your business. So you need to have time to work on your business, not just in your business. So the last question that I have for you today is, what is one strategic goal that you thought about this week? How to move your business forward? Either what to stop doing or what to start doing. or what else you need to do in order to move your business forward. Did anybody have any thoughts about that this week on your leadership piece?
Well, I had a brief conversation with you yesterday, Ebere, about and having an interest in learning about notes.
Mhm.
And so looking at the possibility of of entering into that realm.
Okay, so looking at picking up additional real estate strategies, that's good. For me, I spoke with my assistant office manager about coming up with an article that we can make available for accountants who want to enter into this business. So kind of like the top 10 mistakes that CPAs make, things that you need to, like if you're serious about building your own successful tax practice, these are things that you need to do. So that's more of strategic planning, because for me, the more CPAs and accountants that can join the profession and join our firm, the freer I get to be able to have other things. Anybody else do anything leadership wise this week?
Throw in there. So I mean, it's building a brand. So the idea is to be known for something. So when people hear about you, something comes into mind. So the whole notion of trying to build a brand is something that I'm working on. We're working on. So the brand that we have, or we're developing anyway, I'll just throw it out there, is build wealth and do good. We all can make money, but what difference are you making in other people's lives? So that essentially is the brand, is to help people build wealth, but also do good. How about that?
Mine is building wealth so we might be free, because I loved the whole, I don't know if you guys have heard of them, some so others might eat. I just love that whole concept. So for me, it's so that we might be free. So it's for financial freedom. I'm doing this so that we're all free to really fulfill our purpose and our destiny. Yeah.
So before I started, I guess, really delving deeply into real estate, I'm still a dentist, but I only practice part-time, but I practiced for 25 years. And my brand was life enhancing dentistry. And my mission was to significantly enhance the quality of people's lives in a way that is significant, meaningful, and lasting.
Good. All right, and then Regina says she's also looking into notes. Yeah, I told Lynn yesterday that I've had a couple of people indicate interest in notes, so we might bring on a couple of our clients who are doing notes so that they can tell you guys more about it. So we've come to the end of our meeting. So just to summarize, let me share my screen again. Let me share the summary page. So what we looked at was we looked at sales and marketing, operations, leadership, team, and financial. That if you want to build a successful business, these are the 5 pillars of success that you're looking at building in order to have a business that you can scale and that you can sell. Just remember that the only asset you have is not just the real estate that you own, you have a business system. Remember, Robert Kiyosaki talked about the 4 income quadrants, which is being an employee, being self-employed, having a business system, and then having investments. So as we round up, what is your takeaway from this meeting? What is it that you got out of this meeting today about the importance of setting and developing a business system? And what are some of your next steps?
Well, I got out of it that, the things that we probably likely take for granted that we do every day has value, and that we need to document and, put it in writing so that it could be an asset that's part of our, our bigger, portfolio. So in terms of next steps, I said, okay, Lynn, I guess I need to start trying to write down. So I'm like, just taking one, I think I want to start with the operations one and just kind of start trying to put down what do I do in a typical day related to the real estate, business so that I can have something to start with and then, somehow build upon that. Yeah.
Thank you. And one way that I did it that was easy for me was to work with an intern.
Hmm.
With the intern, they can come in, or even a virtual assistant, and you schedule a Zoom call just like this and just dictate to them, tell them what all you do. And then now they fit it in where they would fit it in now to the different places that it fits under, and then you just continue to review it. So you can say, oh, today we'll work on operations. You tell them everything you do operations related. Usually I say come up with a to-do list and an SOP. I think those are the two best things. SOP is how to do it. To-do list is what to do, and then you do that gradually until you're able to get through all the pillars. So sometimes even just doing it like as an interview format, and then they can go back and listen and write it out. All right, anybody else?
No, I think the key thing is that we all own real estate, and the asset is obviously important, but there's additional value that we can add to all that, so that it gives us the opportunity. If we decide we want to sell the business, then we have something that we can sell to somebody, which they'll pay a premium for, as opposed to just paying it based on the ARV or based on what the MLS says.
And like you were saying earlier too, it makes your portfolio more attractive than someone else's.
Yes.
Yes. Because somebody would be more than happy to pay you an extra amount of money because you have things properly documented. Can you even imagine if you did that now, so that for every rental property that you sold, you're selling an extra $20,000 because it comes with an SOP and a to-do list, or it could even become a separate thing that you sell, where now you also become a teacher, because now you're teaching people and giving them your system. And if you were to sell that system to 10 people for $20,000, that's $100,000 of value. That's actually what I'm doing. I've developed what I call a revenue share partner program, where I'm teaching them my system. And in exchange for that, they're learning how to do taxes and work with people and all that. All right, anybody else?
The other thing is that if we're in the real estate business, so investors tend to, the question becomes, will the investor pay a premium versus a homeowner for the asset? Because homeowners tend to pay more for an asset than an investor does, generally. So, again, I don't want to play devil's advocate, but let's say Lynn's house, she wants to sell it to an investor, and the investor wants the deal, quote unquote. Is I'll pay you $250, and then I'll give you $20,000, $30,000 for your systems. But a homeowner will be glad to pay $300 because they're prepared to pay. They're going to live there. They're not seeing it as an investment. So in that scenario, who would you sell it to? Would you sell it to the homeowner, or would you sell it to somebody who wants a deal, but they'll pay you?
All you're doing is you're splitting your asset, right? You can sell it as a package, or you can sell them separately. I had a commercial owner that they actually had a daycare in a residential space. And they were selling it, and it's right down the street. And for the longest time, I want to be able to move my office out of a commercial space into a, what do you call it, mixed zone, space, but more of like a residential. That's my ultimate goal. And I found one that is like 5 minutes down the road, and the lady will not sell the property by itself. I had to buy the daycare in order to get the property, where I'm like, I don't want your daycare business. I only want. So eventually nobody bought it from her. So now she's rented the space out. So it's possible that you can sell it piecemeal, or you can sell it as a package. For an investor, it's more attractive as a package. But if I want to make money, I would sell it. I would sell the real estate to the person who's the highest bidder, the 300,000. But I can also sell my system separately.
Right.
You know, if I say, hey, with this system, I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar real estate industry, I'm sure that there's a ton of investors out there who would not mind paying that money to be able to get a system that works. You know, because there's a lot of emotional investors out there. Everybody wants to be in real estate, but who's actually making money? Who has done it consistently and generated money off of that is those of us on this call. And I'm sure that there's new people, new real estate investor entrants into the industry who don't know their left from their right. And a lot of these gurus are selling them crap. So you have a business system that can be sold on its own. It doesn't have, it's more attractive as a package deal, but if it doesn't have a package deal, you can have it separated. It's just like somebody saying, hey, Ebere, I want to buy your clients. I will sell them the clients, but I'm still also able to sell my CPA practice. So I might sell 100 clients. If I have 500 clients, I sell 100 clients. And then for the business, I could sell the business plus the 400 clients, or I could sell all 500 clients, but my business system still has value. And there's a lot of new CPAs, accountants, tax professionals out there who want to know, how did I build my business from zero in revenue to over, you know, this amount of money in revenue every year?
Sure. No, good point. Another question is that what we've talked about are documented systems in you know, black and white paper. I mean, we're kind of in a visual video arena where I think people, at least a lot of people, learn from video as well. So the importance of documenting your processes visually. I don't know if that's something that's, you know, I see that as very important as well.
Yeah, so what we usually advise people is you start from the written SOP, and then you can now decide the format in which you want to make it visual. I love this whole animated, you know, where they do the animated video. They have a name for it. I forgot about it, but they have it animated where once you finish writing it out, they can now take it and convert it into a video that somebody can watch. And I don't have to be involved in that process. I mean, I could technically record it myself, but they can literally take that article and then convert it into a video that somebody else can watch. So yes, I agree that because people learn differently, there's several ways that you want to have the information. We are currently looking at Zoho Learn. So I love Zoho a lot as a good CRM because it helps you manage everything under one umbrella. Zoho Learn lets you have the SOP itself, the written document, lets you have the video. You can even give quizzes and tests to make sure that these people understand the concept, where they can actually submit assignments that you've had for them, and then it can be in form of a course. So that's something that we're currently working on as well. And Zoom has been very good. It gives you, if you record it on Zoom, somebody else can take it and then chop it up and then convert it into a video format. I don't know if you guys noticed, but once a month, you guys hear from us. We try to touch you the 4 different ways, right? So the first week we'll send you an article. The next week we'll send you a podcast. The following week we send you a webinar. And then the following week we do a summary, so that you're getting both the video and also you're getting the written aspect of it. And then you're also getting something written down, something that you can watch and listen to. Both ways helps people capture and retain that information faster. All right, one last person, your takeaway before we round up. Alrighty, guys, thank you very much. I will stop the recording now.